string. Pull the string!
Scoodly, wow, wow, wow.
Hi, area Backstage.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Weissman. You know my work probably from the sequels of Back to the Future, maybe Pale Rider with Clint Eastwood, Twilight Zone movie with John Lithgow, TV shows like Saved by the Bell, Max Headroom, Scarecrow and Mrs. King, Diagnosis Murder, on and on. Come visit me at Campbell Con 2016.
This program, we showcase Jeffrey Weissman. We join the panel in progress. The topic is Pale Rider.
Donald Sutherland and Sean Penn and Wallace Shawn, and that was kind of cool to be on that set. We came up to San Francisco to shoot it.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember that.
Yeah, 83. And it was raining while we were up here, and I'm like on standby, and finally they tell me go back to LA, we'll shoot in a couple of months. And I guess that was November. In January, I finally get the call to go back to Universal to shoot my scene with Sean Penn, and get to the Universal lot, and they're making it rain. It's like, okay, we're gonna shoot this. Showbiz. So then, shortly thereafter, I started working on some television shows. Scarecrow and Mrs. King. Before that, Max Headroom. Jeffrey Tambor, and it turns out Jeffrey Tambor went to San Francisco State. We had the same professors there. Really fun, crazy man, Jeffrey is. Dallas, had a little cameo on Dallas, and other silly TV shows to help pay the rent, some commercials. In fact, in '84, I got called in. Apparently, Sean Penn's brother Chris Penn had met Clint Eastwood at a party in Malibu and said, "I want to work with you." And Clint, sure. And Clint sent him a script for Pale Rider, his next Western. Now, Clint had been putting off doing a Western, returning to Western, for like years and years. I talked with the writer of Pale Rider about this, and he said, "We've been trying for 10 years to get Clint to do this script." But Clint didn't want to go back to Westerns. Finally, they threw enough money at him to do it, and a brand new bus. And so Chris got the script, and he read it, and he was cast as Eddie Conway, the Spider's son, the guy who finds the big rock of gold in the film. And Chris threw it back and said, "I don't want to play a good guy, I want to play a bad guy." So they moved Chris. They had, meanwhile, everyone else being cast, and they moved Chris over to LaHood's son, who attempts to rape on Sidney Penny's character and all in the film. And the actor Chuck LaFont, who was playing Teddy, moved into Eddie. So now all of a sudden Teddy is open, and my agent got me into Warner Brothers, and I wasn't going to let anything to chance, because as an actor I studied subjective personalization technique and method, and some Meisner fantasy charging, all the great action verbs, actor terms, and I wanted to be ready. I had a lock of my grandmother's hair in my pocket, who really, it was the only one in my family who encouraged me to be an actor. "Darling, if you want to be an actor, you do it." And I adored her. And luckily on cue, because I had to cry over my dad's dead body in the audition, it was put on tape. It was all there. I didn't really need all these other things. It just happened and it worked. I had tears and everything. And I got hired, and the next week I was on a plane, frightening fucking Bronco, in a tiny plane out of Provo, Utah, to Sun Valley, Idaho, to shoot this film with Clint Eastwood. And I was like, oh man, all right. And but I hadn't met Clint yet, and we were on the set shooting, and so Clint shot my scene is being set up to shoot. The first one where I go up to the buck being driven by Michael Moriarty as Hull Barrett. You go into town, and he got kind of dumb. He got a nice laugh in the theater. And he goes up the road to scout out the next shot, and I follow him up the road. And he's in his duster and his hat. He's very intimidating. Clint's very intimidating, especially in costume. And he turns to me and he goes, "Yeah." I go, "Mr. Eastwood, I'm Jeffrey Weissman. I'm in the next scene with you. I just wanted to introduce myself." He goes, "I know who you are. Who do you think hired you?" Yeah. And we started getting along nicely. It was really an adventurous set to be on. I had a mutual friend with Carrie Snodgrass, who was the female lead in the film. So Carrie and I got along famously right away, but she and Clint started butting heads, and Michael Moriarty and she butted heads because she wanted her character to be strong and doing these things, and they fought her on it tooth and nail, and she almost quit the film. I just tie her with more strawberry margaritas and say, relax, get it out of your system. Michael Moriarty left the film. Got into a fight when they were doing the first fight in town. Some of the other cowboy actors didn't take their time with the choreography. Michael broke 3 fingers. And if you look at the film, when he comes back, when Hull Barrett comes back from town, he's wearing a cast. He's not hiding that at all. It's really the editor, though, is genius in that film. If you remember the Daddy's death scene, it took us 3 days to shoot Spider being shot from head to toe. Remember the last shot right between the eyes? When he goes to town, he's drinking the whiskey. And the first day we had sunshine, the next day was a blizzard, and the next day we had sunshine again. So all the snow had melted. So if you watch those cuts real quick, you see Spider, calling the bad guys out, drinking his whiskey, and then they start shooting at him, and he starts doing the dance. Cuts over to Brother and I at the Mercantile, and we're in a blizzard. Cuts back to him, he's in the sunshine, we're in a blizzard. The third day, when we finally got to Daddy's dead body to cry over it, all the snow had melted. So they had to bring out the oil-based snow, which is incredibly, incredibly slippery. So we are running out to Daddy's body, Chuck hits my mark, and so I take his mark and I slip and almost kick poor Doug McGrath, who's playing Dead Daddy, in the head with my boot. His hair moved. And we're crying. Now, Bruce Surtees, or someone taught Clint Eastwood, Bruce Surtees was a cinematographer, taught Clint Eastwood into building the set on the top of a mountain. So wherever the camera was set, you had the Sawtooth Mountain, the White Cloud Mountains, or the Salmon River Mountains. Wherever he set his camera, there was going to be a beautiful, breathtaking shot. It really is a pretty movie because of that. But we were exposed to the elements, so it was constantly with wind chill factor about 10 below. So whenever we were called to the set, we're around these giant heaters, and it's like, no, we don't want to go. We don't want to go. So when the Blankenship, Richard Hamilton, comes out to gather the boys out from the dead body. He's walking through the snow, and the snow gets picked up by the wind by these big chunks and blows away. So keep that, if you're watching that film, take a look for that. Snow doesn't act that way. Magic of Hollywood. So after Pale Rider, I did more television work. Oh boy, let's see. That was The Scarecrow, Mrs. King. It was really interesting. I hadn't done a guest star spot on a TV show before, and I had broken up with my girlfriend who had taken our car. I borrowed my neighbor's car that he never drove because it was illegal. He was too fat to get fit behind the VW Bug, and it had no clutch, no brakes, and one headlight. Anyway, and when I got to the set in this location in this beat-up Bug, one of the crew guys says, "You're the guest star?" And I went, "Yeah." And he says, "Why didn't you call transportation? They would have picked you up." And I was like, "Oh, now I know." Anyway, that was an interesting set to work on. It was rated the second highest episode of that season. It was called Filming Raoul. And I just played Scotty, the parking lot attendant who captures a kidnapping. He's an amateur filmmaker. And so they kidnap Scotty because he's got film of the espionage, the bad guys. And so this is the first time in my life I've been stuffed into the trunk of a car, hopefully the last. And because of airplanes, trains, auto horns, I had to do it 15 times. It was not good. That hold my back. Luckily I was young. But that was very, very exciting to even have my picture in the TV guide and that sort of thing. It's like, wow, pinch myself. And my parents, who didn't want me to become an actor, when they saw my co-star credit on Twilight Zone movie, but that was it. They were proud of me at times. I finally made it. It was like, yeah, but all right. Anyway, so in between film and TV and commercial work, I needed to also pay the bills. And I ran into an opportunity. A friend called me up and said, "Have you ever considered playing Stan Laurel and Hardy?" I was like, "What do you got?" He goes, "Well, my Oliver Hardy How About Universal Studios tour lost his partner, and I need a replacement, Stanley." I said, "Oh, I need the work. My wife's going to have a kid." So went up there and I auditioned. I remembered seeing Laurel and Hardy as a kid, but I wasn't doing anything right. But the actor playing Oliver Hardy had seen me. Actually, ran the theater that was playing Mercutio in a production of Romeo and Juliet. And he said, "This guy can act to the boss. I'll get him trained." And so I got the job. And so if you went to Universal Studios Hollywood between '87 and 2001, and you had your photograph of Laurel and Hardy or Charlie Chaplin or Groucho Marx, because they played all those characters, it might be me. and that kind of work really broadened my education, because I didn't realize what an absolute genius Stan Laurel was. He not only often wrote and directed, but he also edited. He would even take their films into screen for audiences and recut collabs and such. He was just brilliant. And then I became friends with his daughter, Lois Laurel, who allowed me to go through some of his scrapbooks. It's one of the best pictures I've ever seen. Stan Laurel's about 9 years old. His father had built the children a stage in the backyard, and there was a picture of him directing his brothers and sisters. I mean, it's just fascinating shots. The earliest shot I've ever seen of Charlie Chaplin was in that scrapbook. He's 16 years old. And it's to my dear friend Stanley, your pal Charlie. Just amazing stuff. Hopefully Lois one day will release those things to the public, because it's just amazing. And then learning about Charlie Chaplin's genius, and then Groucho Marx's genius, you have to study these characters to really. I don't want to be a slouch to just do an imitation, but I really want to mask work or embody the characters. So I try to pay attention to the costuming and the makeup and the details of mannerisms and so on and so forth. And I learned that these guys stole from the other greats. That look that Stanley had, he stole from a guy named Dan Leno from English Music Hall. And Little Titch and other greats of music hall where he grew up. He learned all those traits. Charlie Chaplin stole from Max Linder, who was a French silent film star. And there's a very famous picture of Max Linder and Charlie, and Max has got his finger almost up Charlie's nose. He's so pissed at him, but Charlie became a big star. Groucho, of course, got all his stuff from being in vaudeville. I'm doing a show right now. If you go to San Francisco in the next couple of weeks, I'm playing half of a vaudeville team in an immersive environmental theater piece called The Speakeasy in North Beach. And I'm singing and dancing 7 numbers and doing lots of comedy. And then behind the scenes, because you follow a character and watch their story unfold, you can actually watch what goes on in the dressing room. And my vaudeville partner and I are at each other's throats. Very heavy drama scenes behind the scenes. It's a really great, fun theater piece. And a lot of drinking, because it's a speakeasy. The audience gets really buzzed and it can be a mess. So in about 89, I guess it was, 88, I got a call from that same agent who asked if I did Stan Laurel, asked if I knew who Crispin Glover was. I said, well, of course I do. I did a film with Crispin at AFI, the American Film Institute, in 83, and I thought he was a fascinating actor, just incredibly compelling with his choices. And I said, what's going on? He goes, well, the Universal's looking for a stand-in photo double for Crispin. And I said, for the Back to the Future sequel? And I'm not at liberty to say, he said. I said, get me in there. My wife was expecting our second kid. I needed the health insurance. I just, needed to work. And went in and met the assistant directors who talked to Zemeckis about me. The next thing I know, I was introduced to the casting director and I had to audition, who then led me to the makeup people who I started doing facial prosthetic fittings. So in my mind, they needed 2 Georges for scenes. I knew that there were probably, because my friend had a double going in for Michael J. Fox, I figured they needed 2 Martys in some scenes and probably 2 Georges in some scenes, and I was going to help double. Example, when Marty's playing at the band in part 2, when he's doing Johnny Be Good down below, either Kevin is above him or Kevin's on stage playing and Michael is above him, you know, because Kevin looks so much like Michael. So I figured they needed the same thing with Crispin. And I did a screen test with the makeup of young George, age 17, to which Zemeckis asked Dean Cundy, the cinematographer, Dean, what do you think? And I heard Dean say, I think we have Crispin without the trouble. What does that mean? And it was very interesting because right next door, Dick Tracy was shooting. And I saw, what's his name, Forsythe, who played Flat Top? William Forsythe right next door, and he looked at me and I looked at him, because I'm in the young George makeup and he's in that makeup. I'm going, wow, and he's looking at me going, what are you? You know, it was a very odd, surreal moment. I ended up being told by my makeup artist, Ken Chase, who actually got fired, that I was going to play George. I was like, no, you can't make these films without Crispin. But they did, and it fell on my shoulders. Because Crispin at first wanted the same money as Michael J. Fox, and then they, I guess, $1 million, and then script approval, which I don't think they were going to give him. And Spielberg and Bob Gale and Crispin just butted heads all through the first film too. As great a compelling actor that he is, I mean, he'll play tragedy as comedy, he'll play comedy as tragedy. They weren't going to bow down to him, even though they had advertised all the original actors were coming back to reprise their roles. So it was a sticky situation. They had kind of cornered themselves, and my agent didn't really negotiate too well. So I went to Zemeckis while we were shooting, and I said, you know, it would be a step backwards in my career to take anything less than a shared title card. You advance your career as an actor by upping your credits. So you get the title card, you know, at the front of the film. And Zemeckis said, Bob Z said, I won't give you a solo card, I'll give you a shared card. So James Tolkien, you know, Principal Strickland and I share a title card in part 2. To which when the producers found out, they came over furious. You don't discuss that with the director. I said, well, my agent was very weak. No! And Zemeckis wasn't going to go back on his word. So luckily I got that much out of it. Otherwise they would have tried to keep me a secret completely. So it was an odd situation. When I first appeared on the set in the young George makeup at our first night of the Enchantment of the Under the Sea dance, Michael J. Fox looked at me and said, oh man, Crispin ain't gonna like this. I was like, oh no, I'm a scab. It was very odd. And I felt terrible for Leah. Poor Leah, she's having to kiss me and I'm in a mask, basically. But when she slipped me the tongue, I was very surprised. No, it was really great, though, becoming a part of that family. Tom Wilson is a gem of a person to work with. He was a sweetheart. I'm sad that he doesn't do any Back to the Future events. He either got screwed somewhere down the road or decided he had to distance himself from Biff. Hopefully he'll come back and do, because the fans love him, and you know, everyone loves Leah and Chris and Michael. You know, it's the thrill for me has been really in recent years, because I didn't get much advancement in my career from doing the film until really getting out of Hollywood. It turned out the career wasn't really doing much. I did the Man Show and a few other sorted small parts and things. But I was kind of floundering, and LA traffic was driving me crazy. So I moved back to the Bay Area. Luckily, Campbell wasn't too far of a drive, an hour and a half. And I seemed to be working more, being I guess a bigger fish in a smaller pond. I've had media roles up here. I did a film called Corked, where I play an obsessive compulsive winemaker in a mockumentary, like a Christopher Guest film. And I got rave reviews, and the film was funniest. It's a hilarious film. More recently, I filmed a thing that's streaming on Amazon now. Corked is on Netflix. On Amazon, Savior of None, where I play a very depressed widower who's got epilepsy, who's from a settlement, has got $1 million stashed away, and he's going to go sail away. And he becomes sort of, he takes an adolescent who's being abused in the foster care system under his wing, and it turns into a very, very sad tragedy. And I'm really proud of the work. During the shooting, you know, I had to have a grand mal seizure, epileptic seizure, and in one scene where I'm forced to push the girl away, my best friend in the film is played by Vernon George Wells from Road Warrior, you know, the Mohawk guy, bad guy.
Oh, really?
And it's funny because I talked to him about George Miller, and he said, hey, my audition for George was telling a joke too. Full circle. My character has to push this little girl away because it looks bad for a middle-aged man to be, you know, hanging with a 16-year-old girl. And when he pushes her away, during the shooting, I just fell back and had a full seizure again. That wasn't in the script. So if you see that in the film, you can see there was, you know, inspiration being in the moment and letting a creative process take its course. It's a low-budget film, and it really does read low budget, but I'm really proud of the acting in it. So hopefully you catch Savior if not. I won't tell you any more, but it is a tragedy. Also, I shot a proof of concept time travel for a time travel series called The Traveler that I have a little bit of a clip from that I want to share. You'll see that it's really fun special effects, and we had no budget, and yet it came out really great. It's being shopped around and also doing the festival circuit, and boy, just all sorts of different things. Steven, can we play that disc?
You need to put in more laughs. But like, this is a drama, sir.
This includes installation?
Absolutely. Thomas Edison used to take naps, you know, and that helped his genius along, you know. He was always in that subconscious state. I'll keep an open pin in my pocket, you know, safety pin, a little citrus juice in my eyes.
What I need is the story that is uniquely you.
It was autobiographical.
I don't want excuses.
The gentle reader will never know what a consummate ass he can become until he goes abroad. I speak now, of course, in the supposition that the gentle reader has never been abroad before and therefore is not already a consummate ass.
Unless he's made up as a clown, it's a nice parable. But daughter wants him to walk her down the aisle, but not as a clown, so that's why the intervention's going on. Before that, the one with the young black man is a piece that young black man, Justin J. Hall, contacted me when he was 13 years old, and he said, "You're Jeffrey Weissman." I said, "Yeah." I was on an independent filmmaker group on Yahoo, and he found me, and he said, "I want to be an actor. Tell me what to do." And I started giving him practical advice. And a year later, he sent me a public service announcement and a music video and a commercial he had done. And I kind of mentored him over the years. He's in Hollywood now. He played Bootsy Collins in the James Brown biopic. He's what, 18 now? So you know, I coach actors, I teach, and you know, I've got about 4 of my students working in Hollywood now. That picture that we did, 4 Cups of Joe, Jay put the cast, the crew, the executive producer, he put that whole thing together. I mean, an entrepreneurial person like that, it's just amazing to have come in my life. It's really, really exciting. So that, I mean, I'd say, yeah, for every part that goes out, there's 2,000 submissions. But if you have the drive, you know, your overnight success can be, instead of 20 years, it can be 10. So do we have any questions? Any answers? You're right.
Well, there are a couple questions. First one is, will there be a reunion next year at Silicon Valley Comic Con for everybody? Will you be there with Michael J. Fox?
I rarely know about these things too far in advance. A year ago last spring, at the Gallifrey One, the Doctor Who convention down in LA, that show, you guys, 80% of the attendees or more dress as a doctor, a companion, or a villain. It's just amazing how much, and the day after that show closes, the next year sells out. But at that show, the owner of London Film and Comic Con came to me and said, "Jeffrey, we love having you there. How can we get Michael J. Fox and Tom Wilson to come to a reunion for 2015, the 30th anniversary?" I said, "Tom probably won't do it, but I'll tell him how nice you've treated me." and then Michael make it a charity. And Michael had never done cons before. He showed up at the '08 reunion in Hollywood unannounced and just did, you know, a half an hour and then left. But Jason made it a charity. We all signed, 11 cast members that were there signed a Gibson SG that was donated. It auctioned off for $20,000. I think he probably gave Michael's charity $100,000. But that was the first Comic-Con Michael had done. Since then, he, Chris, and Leah have done probably 6 Comic-Cons, which is really great. I feel it's kind of like giving the kick that he needed to get him going.
It was great earlier this year.
Yeah, it was at Silicon this year. So I don't know if they would do back-to-back return, but I'm hoping that it's not just the 3 of them, that they incorporate, you know, Mark and Don and Harry and more Francis and more of the cast members that, you know, were the support players, James, you know, because the 11 of us in London had the most amazing panel. We had 5,000 people at our panel. And I think you can find it online. It was so much fun. It was, I think Leah got upset a couple of times when Claudia grabbed the microphone from her hands. But other than that, it really was a really remarkable show. And I hope there's more of those reunions. Thanks for asking. I can't tell you though, but keep my fingers crossed. I can do that. Yes?
So when you were playing Crispin's character, what was the hardest thing for that?
Well, he's big shoes to fill. I mean, everyone and their mother were going to scrutinize my work. And so I spent a lot of time, they gave me screen tests. I have these screen tests that are makeup tests, Crispin and Leah improvising around the McFly dinner table, Tom and Crispin doing makeup tests, and one scene you see Tom saying, McFly, what's that on your shoe? Boom, you know, what's that on your shoe? What's the name McFly? Is that an Irish bug? They're improvising. And a lot of those things stayed in the film. That was very exciting. For me to get the physicalization, the, hey, you, get your, you know, and the vocal stuff, because we kind of shared. They put a couple of close-ups of Crispin in, that they were going to pay him scale or something for, reusage. And then mixed with my work, but it's all me, you know, going out to and getting that physicalization out to the car, and then trying to advance on what he laid as old George, and getting those mannerisms. If you go to the deleted scenes, look for pizza. That's one I like a lot. I'm in a body cast, so it kind of made me look bulky, and that might be a reason they didn't use it, or another reason it just didn't make sense that she put the pizza on the floor and it says, rotate your axis for dinner. And I go, okay, 4, you know, doing what Crispin's laugh was. And I spun, a weird special effect that took days for us to shoot. And it didn't work, but you can see it in the deleted scenes. Crispin's work was really unique, so it was nice for me to have that to work from. You see that as a mimic, I was able to get down Chaplin and Stan Laurel and Groucho, so I think that's probably why they were attracted to having me do the job. But once again, I knew it would be scrutinized, and it was very odd for me, and also when part 3 came out, Crispin called me, finally, you know, I called him saying, help me get this job. Well, he did by stepping out of the way. But then when it was time to sue, he kind of manipulated me into giving a lot of information. That came out, and Universal just, my boss at Universal on the tour said, what did you do wrong on Murder, She Wrote? I was like, I've never worked on Murder, She Wrote. And I said, well, they wanted Laurel and Hardy, but not you. I was like, oh, fuck, I've been blacklisted. So that was pretty icky. So I guess that was the hardest thing for me, was to realize that, you know, being caught in the middle between these factions was very detrimental. That was hard. But we move on. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So in part 2, when you were hanging upside down, how long did that whole scene?
Oh, yeah.
How long? What was the long?
Way too long.
Yeah, what the hell happened? You throw you back out again?
Oh, I was out on the golf course and...
Dad, I told you to watch that backswing.
No, he was hit by a car. It just fell out of the sky. He could have been killed.
And I was 2 under par.
I don't know what this world is coming to.
Come and show 'em where I am.
Destroy the human.